Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Simon Javan Okello, and I am excited to be here with you for another episode of the Daily African Proverbs. We are live streaming on YouTube, and we are also live streaming on Clubhouse. And I have a special guest here with me, my brother Dylan Hughes, who is a multi-talented artist here in Seattle, Washington. Dylan and I connected many years ago. I moved to Seattle in 2010, and one of the programs that I've been very deeply involved with organizing is Madaraka Festival. And so Dylan has played bass. He's a bass player, but he has an album that he just released. Dylan, what's the name of your album?
The album is Yin, as in yin yang.
Nice. I can't wait to dig deep into into what this project means to you, and also I want us to dig deep into your story as well. So if you're joining us for the first time, I usually host amazing guests here for the Daily African Proverbs, which is a program that is a part of the African Father in America podcast that I host. And so today we are going to dissect a Nigerian proverb. And for those who are joining us on YouTube, this proverb is on my Instagram account, and it's also the title of the YouTube live stream. If you are on Clubhouse, I'm going to pin the proverb for you in just a moment. But in the meantime, I want to play one of Dylan's songs, so that as we begin our session today, you just get to understand the kind of musician that we are having a conversation with. So while I do that, while I get the link to the live stream, you listen to some of Dylan's music here in just a moment. This one is called Yin Part 3, Receive. Yeah, there's always a bit of a challenge. On YouTube, sometimes you can't hear the music, but on Clubhouse, you hear the music clearly. So we just wanted to sample it, but you will learn where you can actually catch this music from Dylan in a moment. If you didn't hear it, at least you saw me, moving my body. And YouTube is very strict with this music copyright business. So that's exactly why you did not hear it. But later on in the African Father in America podcast, when we release this episode, you'll be able to hear it. And Fred, thank you so much for joining us on YouTube. Your support is deeply appreciated. So now, for those who are on Clubhouse, I encourage you to ping 3 to 5 people to join us for today's daily African Proverbs. And we want to start with you, Dylan. For a moment, I just want you to share with us your thoughts on today's Nigerian proverb. The proverb says, if the singer is a fool, the listener is also a fool. And, I didn't plan for us to discuss this proverb because we are having an artist or a musician as the guest. But this proverb was already here. So it's just perfect timing that you are our guest today. So share with me what your perspectives are when you hear this proverb that says, if the singer is a fool, the listener is also a fool. What comes to your mind?
Yeah, well, first, Simon, I just want to say thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I love that proverb. It really, to me, I thought of responsibility, right? And that's a responsibility as the singer, as the person putting the vibrations out into the world, and that could be singing or whatever it is you do, right? Being responsible for those actions and what you're putting out there, because what you are creating it has repercussions. And so if you're putting foolishness out there, you're going to make people a fool. And then on the other side of that, responsibility for what you're listening to, right? So are you what media you're digesting and what you're allowing into your life and what you're consuming, right? So so just that responsibility for what you're doing or what you're receiving. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I feel that this is something that you can relate with because besides being, a musician with your brand new album, you are also a producer. In fact, some of my Nyatiti music were produced in your studio. So I think you've witnessed a lot of people produce music that, encourages foolishness, and also music that encourages people to listen more, because the idea of today's proverb is also to help us reduce how much we talk and to help us increase how much we listen, because many wise African proverbs have a specific purpose, but when people gather and have a conversation around them, we also dissect and learn new meanings. But the primary purpose for this proverb is to encourage people to listen more, so that then when you sing, so that when you talk, whatever comes out of your mouth has been developed in a way that it's ready for other people to listen to it. It's not harmful to other people, So Dylan, one of the questions that I normally ask my guests here is for you to take us back to your upbringing, a period between 8 to 16, a story that when you look back today as a musician, especially here in Seattle, it encourages you to continue going on. It encourages you to continue fighting on. Share with us a story from your upbringing here in Seattle that inspires you today.
Yeah. One story I always come back to is when I was in middle school, my dad took my brother and I to go see B.B. King out at the Gorge. And I mean, the show, I think that was my first real concert that I went to. And, you know, we always have music playing at the house a lot, and a lot of blues, and B.B. King in particular was one of my dad's favorites. And so seeing him live was a very amazing experience in itself. And then, you know, we stayed in the hotel out there, and like early in the morning, my dad comes back in the house, in the room, and he's like waking me up and my brother up. He's like, guys, get up. B.B. King's tour bus is outside. Let's go. And like, he got us up, and we got to go, you know, he knocked on the bus, and we got to go meet him. Got to go meet B.B. King for, you know, just a brief hello and a signature or whatever. But he was just, he was larger than life, you know. He just had this huge aura, energy to him, and you could feel it. It's still really clear to me, standing in front of him like that. And it just was, yeah, that one always, I always feel inspired when I think about that. And I you know, when you're talking about, I had another thought too, and this is before, so when I saw B.B. King, I'd probably been playing bass for a year or two already, you know, and music had been something important to me for a while. And, but maybe a year or two before that, also in middle school, there was a middle school talent show, and a friend of mine, who I've actually played music with for years now, his name's Tyler Hamilton, a really wonderful guitarist, singer, songwriter. He, and again, like I said, this is before I played the bass, but he did, he sang and played guitar with a drummer, and they played a Nirvana song. And I just remember sitting in the front row with another friend, just loving it and thinking like, oh, wow, this guy is my age. He's playing guitar. He sounds like a professional guitar player to me, you know. And it just, that was always really inspiring to me too, just thinking like, oh my goodness, I could learn to do that too. And so, you know, maybe a year or so later, I got myself a bass, and Tyler is one of the first people who I ended up playing with and growing with musically. So that was always very inspiring. We started a band in high school later, and were in my parents' garage every day after school, pushing each other and learning and growing together. So that was a very important memory in my musical development and just life development, really.
Yeah, I feel that you don't only play music, but you also teach music. You know, you've been involved with offering people lessons here in Seattle, playing in so many different bands, and finally you released your album. And you know, as someone who has worked closely with you, I just felt that it was important that, you know, I have this moment to interview you just to learn a little more about your journey. You know, because I've benefited from your talent, you know, your performances at Madaraka, Kijiji Night, you know, have all been very, very much appreciated. and you've been able to work with some of the greatest artists from Africa, and also some of the greatest hip hop artists in Seattle, you know. And so
No small part thanks to you, my friend.
I know. So I want you to share with us, you know, your biggest accomplishment as an artist, you know, as a musician. And also, I want you to talk about your biggest challenge. You know, what has been the biggest challenge that you've faced? But let's talk about, you know, what you're most proud of.
Yeah, well, of course, this album is really a big accomplishment for me, and that's what I'm most focused on right now. Is it just released last week, and the band that I was able to get together is just some of my most favorite musicians in Seattle and really anywhere. They're just great people and great players, and attention and energy and love that they brought to the project. And every single one of them just jumped right on board. No questions asked. Last year when I put together the studio session, they hadn't even heard the music or anything. They were just like, Dylan, oh yeah, we're in. And so I just kind of shout out. We got Owar Arunga on trumpet, Medeiros Dixon on saxophone, Art Borders and Mario Pierce on the keyboards, Jason Bucciolato on guitar, Anthony Maurice Davis on the percussion, and Conrad Riel on the drums. I love these guys, and again, I can't thank them enough for the work that they put in. And so yeah, putting that record together and promoting it and putting shows on and getting CDs and vinyl printed and all of that has been a huge. Uh, it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of work, and it's still a lot of work, but it's exciting work. And it's my first. I've released a fair amount of music, but it's the first thing I've put together where I put a whole band together, and it's all my music and put it out under my name. So that's really exciting. If I go back a couple years, I did a show where at the Royal Room in the summer of 2019, and that was we did the we played John Coltrane's album "A Love Supreme," and that was up until that point that was the biggest show that I had personally ever put together, and that record has been really meaningful for me for the last 5-6 years. And so yeah, I that was a really wonderful night, and I'm very proud of that show. um, and really that album was part of the inspiration for the album that I just put out. um, it, the, there's definitely some similarities. Uh, they're both kind of a full piece as an album in 4 parts. They're both rather than just being 4 separate songs. It's really one piece. And so I wrote that album actually in early 2020 in one day. I wrote the whole thing in a day, and it is it came from a moment I wanted to. So to get a little personal for a little bit, it came out of a moment where I didn't think that my marriage was going to last, right? And this was pre-pandemic, early 2020, and it, without going into much detail on that, it's just like that's where we were at, right? Is that before long we were going to be going separate ways, and so this album is really about that. It's about um, a celebration, but also a mourning and a recognition of seasons changing and chapters ending and new chapters beginning, right? And just to say, luckily we managed to work it out, and we're still happily married and doing much better and much stronger. So we're doing really well now. And that's why it's called yin, actually, because yin is the feminine of the yin and the yang, right? So it's really an honoring of the divine feminine, and an introspection on my relationship with it and with my wife and all. So that's kind of a little background on that. And the day I wrote it, I sat and I listened to A Love Supreme on repeat, and then sat and meditated for a little while until the opening melody of the album came to me. And then I sat at the piano and wrote out the whole rest of it. And then about a year later, in 21, I started reaching out to these guys that put together the studio session and all that. So it's been a long process and a long journey, and a couple of years of really getting to know myself better and stepping into a more powerful role as a man, and stepping into my life in a way where I'm taking responsibility for me and my family and my artistry, and really looking to become the person I really want to be, like making steps to really create the life and the person that I know I can be, and so that album is really a culmination and a celebration of all of that. And so that's a really big accomplishment for me. And then I want to also mention, like, you said I was a teacher, and I've been teaching music for more than 10 years. And so it's really cool seeing some of the kids who I used to teach, like when they were like 10 or 11. And now I see them and they're out doing it, putting their own shows together and releasing albums and going on tours, and like seeing that get passed down, and knowing that I had even some small hand in pointing them in some direction, right? And that is just really the most beautiful thing. So yeah, so that's where I'm at as a musician. I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And one of the things that I also wanted to say is, for me as an African producer of events and festivals here in Seattle, you can't produce an event in isolation. Like the process of creating your album, after you got to the part where you are done what you could do on your own, you had to bring musicians, including Owura Runga, who is a legend, and our paths crossed because we all wanted to bring people around our visions and something that we wanted to put out in the world. So, congratulations on this amazing album, and thank you for always making the time to support, my work with One Vibe Africa. I remember as I see, for those who are watching on YouTube, Dylan is actually currently wearing one of my favorite One Vibe sweatshirts. And if you want one of those, you can go to our Shopify store and you can grab it right now. But today we are focusing our conversation here for the Daily African Proverbs on a Nigerian proverb, with the hopes that this proverb can actually help teach us how to talk less and listen more. Because and we have a musician here who has also taught music for over 10 years. The more you listen, the better whatever you say becomes. So as a singer, if you sing foolish things, your listeners are also going to, just receive foolish things. So it's really, really important that, we pay attention to the idea of talking less and then once you talk less and you listen deeply, whatever you say or whatever you sing is going to be very, very impactful. So that's the essence of our conversation today, and we are live streaming on YouTube. For those who are watching on YouTube, our sessions are very motivational. We host them Monday to Friday, and the hope is that by the time you leave our conversation where we are discussing wise African proverbs and wisdom from our African ancestors, you leave with nuggets of wisdom that can guide you throughout your day. So in 2 minutes, we are going to begin hearing from Leslie and Mama Yama. And I also want to invite you, Shomari and Kay and Sambaza and Hayes, join us on stage. I would love to hear your perspectives as well. But my guest, every day I have a different guest here for the African Father in America podcast. And my guest today is Dylan Hughes, and Dylan is a very talented musician. He primarily plays bass, and whenever I've brought Samini from Ghana, he plays the bass in that band. I literally create a backup band for example, when I'm organizing Madaraka Festival, we bring in artists from all over the world to Seattle, and then we have one band that backs them up. And so Dylan has been one of the co-musicians that we've worked with over the last almost 7 years. So, when he released this album, I had to be one of the outlets that he shares it, to the world with. And that's why we created this platform, so that, whenever one of us has something great that they want to share with the world, we can talk about it here. So now we want to go ahead and listen to Leslie and Mama Yama and Brother. And then Dylan, just take notes. I would love for you to just, towards the end, share with us your thoughts on what is it that you had that you want to take away from our conversation today. So Leslie, just share with us where you're joining us from, and what comes to your mind when you think about this Nigerian proverb that says, if the singer is a fool, the listener is also a fool. And also, if there's anything that you picked up during my conversation with Dylan that you want to speak about, this is a good time for you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon. I appreciate this room. I appreciate your club. I am brand new here. I'm speaking from the U.S. in the state of Michigan, to be exact. And I was reading your bio, where it says that you're here to change the narrative about Africa. Oh my God. I've been speaking about this for years and years. I just have been telling people, encouraging them that if they don't want to believe me about the beauty of Africa, try YouTube. Look it up. Look it up and see for yourself. I did get a chance to travel to Nigeria in October 2021, and I'm going back very soon. And the love of my life is there. It just so happens to be that way, and it's well with me. So as far as the um, the proverb, I can say plenty about the proverb. If the singer is a fool, the listener is also a fool. Hmm. It sounds like someone is in a position to believe foolish things, to put themselves in a position where they don't have their own mind. And that, thank God, is not me. I will listen, I will close my mouth, but it doesn't mean I must agree to everything I hear. Thank God. So I'm going to keep it short. Again, I appreciate you. And I would love to follow you on YouTube. I am following you here. I will look and check to make sure I am a follower of this club. And yeah. So can you give your YouTube information, please,
Yes.
please, please? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leslie. It's right at the top of the room here on Clubhouse. If you click the link right above your face here on Clubhouse, you'll be able to get to the live stream. So as we speak, I'm also having a conversation with Dylan, who is my guest, and you'll be able to join us live and direct on YouTube. You'll see our faces over there. And I really, really appreciate what you had to say about changing the narrative about Africa. That's exactly why I started hosting the daily African Proverbs. You know, I could have been recording these podcast episodes just in hiding somewhere, but instead, you know, over the last year, we've been gathering here and building a community of people that believe in exactly what you are saying, you know, in doing it by action, not just talking about it, you know. So our hope is that over each of these proverbs, over the conversations we hold around these proverbs, we motivate ourselves, you know, we become wiser, you know, and also we learn how to listen more and to talk less, because silence is very, very powerful. So now I want to go to Mama Yama. Mama Yama, share with us where you are today and what is in your heart when you listen to this proverb. If the singer is a fool, the listener is also a fool. Thank you so much.
Hola, hola, Simon. Hello, hello, Simon, Dylan, and everyone in the room. Good morning and greetings to all from Ecuador. Yeah, I'm Mama Yama from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, but I'm living for some time in Ecuador, in the middle of the continent. So it's a very beautiful, it's a nice country also. I am an activist, but this proverb remind me of something the people here in Latin America or in Spanish, they say, don't follow the words of a fool, even if he's a good singer. It's a very popular thing that people say here. And that means that we must pay attention to people who can, people that who can become positive for our development as better human beings, and this make this kind of transformation in our life. So thank you very much for this room, Brother Simon, and also, well, we are here just finished carnival, so the people are playing and they have water here, and all the children is um, making this last day of carnival, you know. So the happy is in the air, and also have a good new month for everyone with too much ashe. And for Dylan, he knows something about Latin America or Brazil music also. Thank you very much. I'm complete.
So I'll let Dylan respond to that in a moment here. But I do want to say that as you're speaking, Mama Yama, you reminded me about the situation in Ukraine. And it reminded me, as you're speaking, it reminded me of another way to interpret this proverb, to say that if a leader is a fool, the country that they're leading becomes a fool too, because Now there are many Russians who are great people, but because Putin is making terrible decisions, all Russians are now dealing with the trouble of being called a rogue state, So it's just amazing how this actually applies to the current war in Europe. And Dylan, I would love for you to just quickly answer what Mamayama was saying in regards to whether you're familiar with with Central America or the music there. Just quickly before you go to brother.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly no expert, but I have played some Latin American music, and I always enjoy it. Yeah, that's the cool thing about Seattle is there's a bunch of styles of music, and as a bassist, I've had the opportunity to play and learn all kinds of styles. So yeah, a little bit here and there, and I always enjoy it. So thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's something that I love Seattle about. In Seattle is like the mecca of music. I've just seen so much talent when it comes to music, and I encourage you, if you're watching and listening, join us on August 13th and 14th at Pier 62 for Madaraka Festival. Pier 62 is at the waterfront. At the Seattle Water Park, and we are hosting Madaraka Festival at a really, really nice venue, and I'm giving you, and this is, nobody knows this in the public. Even Dylan is hearing about this for the first time, So just save the date and join us in Seattle. This is the biggest African festival, Madaraka Festival, in this region of the U.S. So the planning is ongoing, and I just gave you guys a secret. It's happening for 2 days for the first time. Anyhow, now we are going to go to brother. Brother, how are you? And I really appreciate you for being here consistently and supporting this movement. What are your thoughts when it comes to this Nigerian proverb? If the singer is a fool, the listener is also a fool.
Peace and blessings, family, and gratitude for you for hosting this beautiful platform for us to be able to dig deeper in these this ancient wisdom. And when I look at it, what I see is I'm calling from North Carolina, by the way. But in the Moorish Holy Quran, it teaches that honesty. What health is to the body, honesty is to the soul. And then it states somewhere later on in the Moorish Holy Quran that the eyes and the ears are the sentinels to the soul. Basically, the way that you feed your soul is through your eyes and ears. And if a person is constantly feeding your spirit with garbage or foolishness, what else do you think it's going to produce? You know what I mean? And let me say this. In the early 90s in America, that's when they so-called the corporations pushed the gangster music. And, following behind the gangster music, that's when the gang culture or the gang life spread from the East Coast to the West Coast. Okay? Toward the late 90s, early 2000s, it was mostly about drug dealer music. Everybody wanted to be the biggest drug dealer. And so that's what it was. But if you listen to the current state of hip hop or so-called rap music now, it's they say it's drug addict music or drug abuser music. And pretty much that's what it's causing a lot of the youth or the lost ones who digest that type of music spiritually. That's what ends up manifesting in their life. But I think this is a beautiful platform, man. Continue the good work, man. Peace and love, family.
Yeah, peace and love to you. I just love how you said that the function of the eye and the ears, the eye feeds your soul. That's really, really profound. And to everyone who is joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. I just want to remind you to remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. My goal for February was to get to 2,000 subscribers, but I didn't get to that goal. So I want to set that as my March goal. It's March 1st. I didn't get to that goal. I'm not so disappointed because we are so close. But I want to just encourage you to subscribe for now, and I also want to encourage you to push the thumbs up button so that next time we are live here on YouTube, you can be the first ones to be notified. And then if you're on Clubhouse, I want to encourage you to follow the African Father in America Club, and also nominate 3 to 5 people to join the club. African Father in America is also the name of my podcast, and you can catch today's conversation with Dylan across all podcasting platforms. And I just quickly want to give a shout out to Jay, and I want to give a shout out to Johnny Nogood. Both Jay and Johnny were very instrumental in helping build the Daily African Proverbs from just an idea to this amazing platform that we all enjoy today. And if you're just joining us, my special guest is here in Seattle, Washington. His name is Dylan Hughes, and he's an amazing bass musician, and he just released his first album. You know, Dylan has contributed to so many projects that I've done, including last year's Madaraka Festival, where Jay was also one of the performers. And so we've talked about, Dylan's story, particularly. We listened to a time when he met B.B. King and how that has impacted him as a musician. And also we've talked about, just him spending time in his garage, mastering his craft, working with some of the greatest artists in Seattle currently, and then producing this album, and this being the crowning accomplishment in his life as a musician. We also talked about, the work he has done as an educator, as someone who has seen a lot of musicians in Seattle, become great at what they do, and that he's very proud. One of the things that he's proudest the most about is seeing some of his students touring and releasing their own albums. So that's our guest today, and I want to bring it back to you, Dylan. I know you are taking notes when you're listening to our speakers on Clubhouse. What are some of the things that you picked up during that moment?
Well, you got a lot of wisdom in your audience, that's really a beautiful thing. And what our last friend was talking about was so powerful. The idea that honesty is for the soul, is in what health for the body is, and what you're feeding your soul with through your eyes and ears is, what they say, you are what you eat, right? And it's the same thing with what you're consuming, what you're letting your mind focus on. I always think that I say the universal currencies are time and attention. We spend time and we pay attention, and where those go, that's what the universe will. That's the exchange. That's what the universe is gonna to give us, right? Whatever we spend our time and pay our attention towards, that's what we will end up creating. And so honesty to the soul, that's so important. That's one of the things that I've been working on a lot over the last couple of years is being honest. It's just being honest with myself, especially, and with others, and realizing, the little lies we tell ourselves on a regular basis, and then also the lies of omission, right? What the things that went unsaid that really I should have said, the things I was holding in, and didn't even realize I was really holding these things in, and then before you know it, it's leaking out or exploding out over some other thing that you're just like, wait, where did that even come from, right? And so that honesty it cleanses, right? When you speak the truth, it's like resetting. It's wiping the dirt off the window so you can see clearly. Yeah, and then what you said about silence being so powerful, and trying to learning to listen more than we speak. And when you listen more than you speak, or as a musician, listen more than you play, right? What you are getting is context. You know, you're you're absorbing the whole environment, and you have a much better understanding of how your words, or whatever type of vibration you're making, will then impact, right? When your eyes and ears are open and you're receiving the whole situation, you can really see what you actually need to put in there with the least, uh, the smallest, the minimum necessary force, right? And then you get to really see the ripple reactions of your actions or other people's actions, the cause and the effect in that moment. Whereas when you're caught up in, lost in thought, or focused on one little part of the whole situation, you can't see the whole picture. You don't necessarily notice how one thing's affecting the other. They feel separate, right? When it's all actually, one vibe, like, right? It's all one, and every part of the whole is affecting every other part of the whole. And so through honest listening, really being open and receiving everything that's happening in the moment, you can get a better perspective on how everything is interacting together, and how it all affects each other, and how what you say, do, is positively or negatively affecting everything around you.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I just realized that you're sitting on the same chair I was sitting on when I came to your studio.
Yeah.
It's a very comfortable corner in that entire room. So, yeah. And, thank you for making the time for today's conversation. I know it's very early and it's winter time, so everybody's probably still under their blanket here. In majority of people are still under their blankets here in Seattle. But I want you to share with us how everyone who is listening and watching can stay connected with you, and where they can get your music, where they can get your album particularly.
Yeah, well, so the album's streaming out on anywhere you stream: Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, all of that. Dylan Hughes, Yin, Yin, is the name of the album. And then my YouTube channel is Dylan Hughes Music. My Instagram is Dylan Hughes Music, and my Facebook is Dylan Hughes Music, and my website is dylanhughesmusic.com. So pretty straightforward.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, and
Thank you, Simon. Real pleasure. Really, I really appreciate you having me on. It was a really wonderful conversation.
Of course, man. Of course, you're most welcome. Yeah, this is why we built this, so that we can bring our community together. And this would not be possible with the contribution of our friends who are on YouTube with us. Thank you. Sometimes it's quite interesting when you're looking at a camera and there are other people watching you and paying attention to you. It's just so different. So I just want you all to know that, it's not complete without you who is watching or listening. This thing is not complete. So thank you. For those who are going to watch this later on YouTube, today's conversation was around this Nigerian proverb that says, if the singer is a fool, the listener is also a fool. And my guest has been Dylan Hughes, a well-known bassist here in Seattle, and he just dropped his album and shared with you how you can get it. And now I want to talk to my friends on Clubhouse: Leslie, Mamayama, Brother, Jay, Chanya, Shomari, Kay, Roger. Thank you all for being here. This is going to be the end of our conversation for today. Tomorrow we are hosting Chioma Sheri, who is an amazing poet, and she's going to turn our proverb into a poem. So she's also going to kick off the Women's History Month series of conversations that we will be having here as part of the Daily African Proverbs. So thank you all so much, and I will be seeing you tomorrow. And Dylan, thank you again so much for your presence. All right, have a nice day.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle,